So the Gallant is pretty much your basic HMS DD. It's great to learn from, has the regular smoke in comparison to the field smoke of the texturing line, but it teaches you a great way how to use those single shot torpedoes in a pretty easy tier 6. So overall, it's just good. To a ship that I was probably overvaluing, I had the Georgia in niche. It is a fun meme ship. You got that speed boost, you have 457s at tier 9, they're hard hitting, but you have the lack of guns, and that use of your speed gets you in trouble more often because, yes, you can get into a position really close and you really speed up and hunt people down, but your secondaries kind of suck. You don't really have that much firepower with the amount of guns you have. Yes, you have that awesome Citadel capability, but if you don't get those Citadels, it really feels kind of lackluster. So yeah, it's more of a playable ship. I think it was, I was overrating it. The Grozia. So yeah, it's playable. It does get the Black Amalfi treatment, so it's better than the Zara of the similar tier, but unfortunately that turret layout kills its ability to really hunt down DDs because you're splitting your firepower 50-50, and in order to get all your guns on target, you're showing a pretty large silhouette to maybe a DD that you're hunting that probably has torpedoes ready just to smack you with it, so it doesn't fix it like the Black Amalfi. So yeah, Grozia's there, it's playable. The Graf Zepplin, this goes into niche. This is basically a cruiser with planes. Some like it, some won't. It's just overshadowed by its black version that's just better because of the skills that it brings. The Gremyahchy, this is definitely a niche ship. I enjoy it. It's a Russian gunboat, so it's fun, but it actually fixes the torpedoes that have such a short range on the regular gunboat line, so it's a little bit more playable. Some people will like it, some people won't. Hard-hitting guns, but those things turn like molasses, so make sure you are always pre-aiming your guns with the Gremyahchy, or you're gonna not be able to always have your guns on target. It's fun, but not for everyone. Now, the Guilio Cesare, the Giulio Cesare, however you want to pronounce it, it's great to buy. This is the king of tier 5 battleships, in my opinion. It's fast, nimble, great guns, AP monster, especially if you have APCS, if you're bringing down your commander from the Christopher Colombo on that. It's just a fun ship, highly would suggest it, and even better, you can get it out of a mission. It's great. So, free. On to the Haida, which is arguably, if this could have its own tier, it probably is the ship that would actually have its own tier. This is the worst ship in the game, pretty much, from everyone I know. The Haida is always compared to any other bad ship. It just doesn't work for its tier. It doesn't have the firepower for its tier. It needs to be a tier lower, probably, if not 2 tiers lower, and then it actually would be good. But yeah, no, the Haida, just don't touch it. It's collector's edition. Do not buy it unless you really want to experience the worst ship in the game, in my opinion. Now, the Hayate. I was wrong with this. I previously had this in niche because I kind of figured taking those two extremes really didn't work well from the Harugumo and the Kamikaze. But overall, I actually think it came out better than both of them in many ways. The Hayate can just do just about everything in the game. It does a crap ton of damage, and in the right hands, it basically is a Kamikaze occasionally and a decent Harugumo at other times. I'd highly suggest it. It definitely pushes itself out of niche, and I was wrong for that. I undervalued those two combos coming together and really creating a pretty well-balanced ship. Helena, now this ship is just playable. It's a broken class that now has radar. That's pretty much it. If you like the broken class and want radar, there's another ship for this, and we'll get to that pretty soon. But yeah, the Helena's there. It's okay. It's playable. The Hill. So this is a tier 5 Mahan with fuel smoke. That's an incredibly deadly combo. Highly would suggest it. I love mine, and if it ever comes out again, you should pick one up for yourself. It's a blast at tier 5. The Hizen. This is a Japanese Montana. It's not great. It's got barely good accuracy. It takes a bunch of damage from it. It's playable. It's just playable. I would highly suggest stay away from it. But it's not that bad to go into the collector's area. You can still kind of make it work. The Hood. So I've hated on the Hood a lot because I love my Nelson, and yeah, that makes sense. But the Hood is not as bad as I say it is on stream. It's just, I don't prefer it. But for most people, it might work for you. I put it in niche. Some would even argue good. It does have good AP, but unfortunately, its armor doesn't really compete as well. It's pretty darn accurate for its tier. So, like, I see the redeeming qualities of it. Some people would put it in good, but to me, I think it depends if you can handle just that ship, and also just how many times I've gotten Citadel crises from these ships on other ones, just history replaying itself. Now to our newest carrier here, we have the Hornet. So this goes into niche. This is specifically if you want hard to kill dive bombers, and that's really it. The rest of it is just okay. It does cause a lot of fires, it does have a decent setup, but overall, do you want just that? That's all it really brings to the table. Now, the Huang He, I'm hopefully pronouncing that right too, but to me, this goes into niche, but it is a sleeper with certain things. In my opinion, it's one of the better tier 6s. It's just incredibly sneaky. It's got that torpedo reload, so it's got a lot of torps on one side, and then you can switch over to the other side. You get smoke, you get decent HE starting, guns. Like, it has a lot going for it, but unfortunately that armor really holds it back. So if that sounds fun to you, I would highly suggest it. It's a weird one, but it ends up kind of working sometimes. The Hyuga. So it's good. I'm going to say it's good. I hate mine. I absolutely hate mine, and I don't know how people make it work. But you want to know what? I know plenty of other people that make it work. I'm going to put it in good. I see why, but it just doesn't work for me. It doesn't. It's got rapid reload 3 on Fuso guns at tier 7. That is a powerful combo. I don't know why. It just doesn't jive with me. It just doesn't, but it might jive with you. Another 40k ship, we have the Ignis. This goes right into playable. It is a radar Tirpitz. The Tirpitz already has problems, and this doesn't fix it. So yeah, I wouldn't suggest it, but hopefully the Tirpitz classes can get some love soon. They've really aged poorly, and it's showing. Imperator Nikolai, this goes right into collectors. You can make it work. It is kind of fun at tier 4, but unfortunately, it's just a bunch of inaccurate guns at tier 4. It's a barge. If that sounds interesting and you can make it work, awesome. But I'd argue just tier 4 has some pretty decent battleships, and this just doesn't make the cut. Now, the last premium ship review, I called the Indianapolis a sleeper. Nowadays, the cat's out of the bag. Everyone knows about this ship. It goes right into great to buy. 203s with rapid reload and radar. It's a great combo. It takes on just about everything. It is the Belfast counter, but it allows so much more play, and it's so much easier to play overall, in my opinion, than the Belfast. Though I will say that if you run into a very good Belfast, they will still kick your butt pretty well, but you can at least generally give them a challenge. So that's why I put the Indianapolis in great to buy. It's just works for so many more people, but it's a great combo, very powerful ship for tier 7, and highly would suggest it. Now to the click to win ship itself, the Indomitable. This is great to buy because it is brain dead simple to play, as it's just dive bombers and fighters, and realistically you just use the fighters to bait other person's fighters to keep them away from your dive bombers, while your dive bombers start 3 fires on every single ship they run into and bomb. This is an annoying ship to run into. I hate to say that it's great to buy, but it is. It's incredibly powerful. Please don't buy it. Please. The Irian. Now, previously I had this in playable. I still regret this purchase of this ship, but I'm going to move it to niche because certain people do like it. It is another Chapayev class, but now with deep water torpedoes, torpedo reload, and kind of a more focused on AP rather than HE for this ship. But the HE is still usable. Some people really like this. I put this down to is, do you like the Chapayev class and can you handle deep water torps? Then this ship might be for you. But for me, I've actually sold mine. I regret that purchase. It's a horrible ship in my opinion for me, but it might work out great for you, as I've seen some great Irian players, and those deep water torpedoes can be quite hilarious to use at long range because they do hurt. So yeah, it fits better in niche. The Issei, this is a unique HMS ship, Saxon Japanese, but with dive bombers. It's a kind of a weird ship. I previously had it playable, but after having seen it used in competitive play as a spotter using those paper bombers that it has, I'm gonna put it in niche. It's kind of an interesting ship. HE sometimes I find it's just straight up better to shoot out than AP, but it can kind of work. I don't know. So I'm just gonna put it in niche. I think it fits there better, especially with that competitive nature where you can spot things for your team in certain competitions. But overall, Issei is not that bad. It's just very particular, very unique. To the Jean Bart, and unfortunately it has not been buffed. Pigbay's video just says it all from a while ago. It's the exact same position as it was a while back. This is playable, but barely that. I could even argue collectors. It's just, especially now with the Alsace, since it's got its rapid reload buff now, it's just the Alsace is just clearly better than the Jean Bart. Don't put money into the Jean Bart. It's not a tier 9 Richie. I promise you, it is not a tier 9 Richie. There are better ships at tier 9 than it, and it's barely eking into playable for me. Now we have the Jurua here. Unfortunately, this is just another forgettable Blitz Pass ship. It's playable just because it's a Gallant clone, and the Gallant is pretty good, so it's not bad, but it's just a different style of it. I just don't think it makes it as good as the Gallant, so yeah, it's there. It's playable. Now to a carrier that pretty much needs no introduction. It's the Kaga. This is great to buy. This is the most annoying ship to run in at tier 7. It just utterly kills everything. There's just so much going on, similar to that of like the Black Shikaku, but a tier lower and just as good. It's incredibly powerful. I hate that I have to say and suggest it for carrier mains, as I'd have to run into them more, but to me, the Kaga is incredibly powerful and great to buy for those CV mains. But yeah, I hate you for playing that ship, because that is just so many fires and floods. God, it's annoying to play against. Now to the just regular Kamikaze. It's an incredibly fast ship with good torps. That's really all you can ask for at that tier. They hit hard, they're long range. The guns, of course, it's a torp boat, so the guns are pretty bad, but you can pretty much speed out of any area you have a problem with because you're just that fast. So it's a fun time for DD mains. Good. The Katori. This is a tier 3 cruiser that kind of can't really do much, so it's a collector's. If you want it, it's there. It's just okay. Onto a new ship, the Kearsarge. Now, actually, Terry pretty much changed my mind on this ship. I was going to basically put it in dumpster it in collectors, do not buy, or barely into playable, but I'm going to put it in a niche. Some people can make it work. In my opinion, it doesn't really have that great of niche, but we could probably see it in the inevitable future in a high-tier competitive game, especially kind of similar to the Issei as a way, but the guns are pretty good. It's just the armor and size of this thing is massive, but if you do end up owning it, go watch Terry's video. Maybe they'll help you actually play it and maybe put it on the good side for you, but for me, barely playable. Like it's a rough ship because it's just that size, that armor. It's a pinata to me. The key. So the Amagi class is just straight up aging. I already talked about it with the Black Amagi. I'd put the key in playable. Yes, it has those long-range torpedoes, but they're kind of more of a gimmick rather than an actual usable item. They do help, but it's not something that's going to win you the game over in the key because of that just horrible armor. But it does have decent guns, and you might like it, but overall, I find it playable. Now on to a bit of a swing here in terms of everything. We've got the Kirov, great to buy. This is a fantastic 180s cruiser. Tier 5 just absolutely demolishes things. Citadels, battleships, all the time. Hilarious AP. The HE is kind of rough, but it does have good defensive torpedoes, so if a DD tries to assassinate your run, you at least can take it out with you. But in my opinion, the Kirov is easily in contention with the Königsberg as the best tier 5 cruiser. It's phenomenal. I would highly suggest, if it ever comes back up, to pick it up. On to the next roller coaster of Russian cruisers here. We got the Krasny Krym. Goes right into collectors. Do not buy. You'll play it. You'll be like, oh my god, this thing just doesn't feel good for tier 5. There's so many better cruisers at tier 5, and it's just bad. Some people will say it's playable, but those are people that are probably just trying to push it to its extremes. When it's tier 5, there's much better ships. Just don't get the Krasny Krym on purpose. I'm saving you sanity here, okay? And back up this roller coaster of Russian cruisers, the Kronshtadt. This goes right into great to buy. This is a fantastic sniper for tier 9. Great cruiser. Its armor doesn't always hold up, but if you can just stay at range, use that little mobility that you actually have to dodge some shells and then just absolutely obliterate targets at long range, because these things are accurate even without precise aim. I don't even run dispersion on this. I run turret traverse to make it so I can get those turrets on target more, because you don't really need that dispersion buff in the first place, because you don't even need precise aim as well on this. It's just that accurate. So highly would suggest picking this up if it ever comes back. We're finally at L, people. Oh, we're finally at L. Oh god, this is taking forever. Let's just keep on going, keep on trucking. On to another ship that I overranked it. So the Le Terrible was a niche. It's definitely unplayable. Yes, it just got sonar recently, but you're not getting close enough to use that sonar, because those guns turn horribly. So yeah, no, Le Terrible is still the whole meme. It is Le Terrible, but yeah, the sonar doesn't help. I don't know what Wargaming was thinking about giving it that. So another one that I unfortunately missed during the original recording, but once again, thank you to Romy for calling them out, and also link for his YouTube channel will be down below. Lenin just goes right into playable. It's a tier 8 Nelson. That sounds like a grand idea, but then keep its tier 7 armor and then give it horrible inaccurate guns. Yes, you get precise aim, but that's the only time that you're accurate. Like, you can literally miss a trash can at a kilometer with these guns. That's how inaccurate they are. The only thing that keeps it from collectors is I kind of don't mind it. Like, it's not that bad per se, but it can blap DDs with HE, but it just doesn't hold up hardly at all. Similar to a lot of other ships in playable, where it does have at least a few kind of fun qualities, or at least decent qualities, but it's not trash tier completely, but it's got a foot in there. The Leningrad. So this ship, I had it in niche. I think it fits better in playable. Unfortunately, mid-tier gunboats just do great. It does have usable torpedoes, but not insanely usable torpedoes, so I think it fits better in that playable area. Some people might enjoy it, but overall the mid-tier gunboats are all kind of in a rougher shape. So I wish Wargaming would actually give them some love and kind of make gunboats a little bit more of a viable playstyle in this game. At least a little bit more viable, I should say. The Leone, this goes in the collectors. Unfortunately, it just doesn't have enough firepower for its tier. I'm hoping Italian DDs are just straight up better than this, because this is not a good preview for the coming Italian DDs. So yeah, just don't touch this. Man, I seem to have overvalued the L's actually, now that I'm looking at this. But the London, it was a niche. It's now unplayable. It's an Exeter at a higher tier. It still has that problem where it just has so much area outside of the water. It's so easy to hit. But, you know, it does have Exeter guns. You can kind of make it work. But, yeah, it's playable. Lo Yang. So this goes right into playable. It's got much better tech tree ships that it's a reskin of the Benson or the Shenyang. But, yeah, no, the Lo Yang goes into playable. Some DD mates that I've talked to even talked about collectors. It just doesn't work well for it. So yeah, it's there if you want it, but I'd probably say stay away.